back in the summer I introduced you to a new hobby of mine, which is raising meat rabbits, and I haven't given you any updates recently about that, so I thought I'd go ahead and do that today. It's currently January. Obviously it's winter time, there's snow on the ground, and back in November I went ahead and moved the rabbits into a shed that I have on our property, and I did that just to make it a little easier to protect the rabbits from the elements during the winter time. So let's go ahead and go inside and we'll show you what we have. Now, the majority of the time this door is closed. I always close it at night, and if it's really cold or if it's snowing or raining, I always keep it closed. But if it's a nice day, if it's above freezing and there isn't a lot of wind, I open it up just to give the rabbits a little fresh air. Now at this point I have 3 rabbit cages. Each of the cages is 30 by 30 inches. The top and bottom cages are 18 inches in height, and the middle one is 16 inches. If you're building your own cages, I recommend you make them 18 inches. It just gives the adult rabbits a little bit more space to stretch out. This area is kind of dimly lit. There's one window, and I also have this utility light hung up here all the time. And I have this on a timer, and so it stays lit 12 hours a day, and then the rabbits are in the dark for 12 hours as well. Up here at the top is my doe, and she's actually pregnant. I expect her to have another batch of little ones here in about 4 or 5 days. Just below that I have her last litter. There's 5 of them. I was a little worried when I got into this because I heard a lot of horror stories about first-time rabbit mothers not taking care of their babies or cannibalizing them or whatever. I also read that there's a pretty high death rate among baby rabbits. Some of them don't make it, but believe it or not, her entire litter survived. All 5 were healthy. All of them are growing well. They're about 7 weeks old at this point, and we'll probably give them another 3 or 4 weeks before we butcher them. I'm going to save 1 doe out of this litter. That way I'll have 2 does and 1 buck for reproduction going forward. And then lastly, down here at the bottom I have our buck bunny, who's obviously the biggest of all of them. I've had to ration his food pretty good to keep him from getting any larger than he is. In order to stack all these cages up, I used 1x3s, 1 for each corner, and I have them fastened down here with wire ties. If you want to know how I constructed that, I actually have another video on my channel that shows how to do that. One thing I wasn't sure about is how the rabbits would take the cold. From what I read, their biggest enemies are moisture and drafts, but just wasn't sure what kind of temperature they needed to be at. But I found out that they really do well in the cold. We've had a couple nights in the past month or 2 that have gotten down to 4 or 5 degrees Fahrenheit, so well under freezing, and they've had no trouble whatsoever. In fact, her first litter, when they were very small, she insulated them very well in the nest box, and they were fine in sub-freezing weather as well. So it seems like they do pretty well. Obviously in here they don't have any breeze and they don't have any moisture, and that seems to be the key to keep them comfortable in the wintertime. As far as food, I give the rabbits as much hay as they want to eat, and then I also give them pellets. And I use Agway pellets that I get at my local Agway. There's obviously lots of choices when it comes to pellets. These particular pellets are designed to be a complete meal, and so if you don't want to feed the rabbits hay, you can just feed them the pellets. It says right on the bag that that is acceptable. Some pellets, though, are designed not to be a complete meal, and if you buy those, you have to be sure to give them hay as well. In the summertime I used water bottles in order to water the rabbits, but I found in the wintertime something like this works a whole lot better. It is important that you have something that attaches on the side because they will have a tendency to dump the water if you don't have that. And obviously the water will get frozen when you have cold nights, but you just come out first thing in the morning, dump out the ice and put fresh water in, and I usually come out either once or twice more throughout the day and do the same thing. Now on 2 of my cages I have these little through-the-wall feeders in order to feed them pellets, and those I find work the best. For the dough up here I'm using a ceramic dish, and it's pretty heavy, and the reason for that is if you have a heavy dish they're less likely to dump it over, but she still manages to dump it from time to time. but not too often, so it works all right. But if I had to make a recommendation, these save a lot of hassle, and you rarely spill any food. If you have any questions about my rabbit raising project that I haven't covered, feel free to leave those in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.